To start our journey through the history of our country, I would like to tell you about the Vikings. The Vikings were the seafaring people from Scandinavia who from the late 8th to late 11th centuries raided, pirated, traded and settled throughout parts of Europe. In their famous dragon boats they moved both westward to France and Spain, Great Britain and Ireland, Iceland and Greenland, as well as eastward and southward through Slavic lands to Constantinople, Persia and Arabia. How did the people of tech lands react? Terror, deaths, slavery. As a result of these disasters, a special prayer was written into the Christian litany. Save us, O Lord, from the fury of the Northmen. In most European countries where they raided, they began settling. That period is known as the Viking Age, and the term Viking commonly includes both an inhabitant of Scandinavia and a pirate raid. The Vikings had a profound impact on the early medieval history of Scandinavia, the British Isles, France, Estonia, and Kievan Rus. But in our country we've been meeting with the Vikings for a long time, only in books. Nowadays we can add films and computer games. Historically we are connected with Varangians. So what's the difference between Varangians and Vikings? A Viking was a member of the sea military campaigns that were made by the Scandinavian peoples in the 9th to 11th centuries. Those participants in the campaigns were called Danes and Norsemen, or Normans, people of the north, in Western Europe. As for Eastern Europe, they were called Varangians, the warriors who took an oath, wara in Old Germanic, of allegiance to their leaders. It is generally believed that the Russian state began with calling Varangians, called Rus, as rulers. Throughout the first half of the 9th century, Slavic and Finnish tribes paid tribute to Varangians. In 862, the Finnic and Slavic tribes in the northwest area of modern Russia rebelled against their Varangian rulers, driving them back to Scandinavia, but the winners soon started to conflict with each other. The disorder made those tribes invite back the Varangians to come and rule them and bring peace to the region. They went overseas to the Varangians who were known as the Rus and said to the people of Rus, "Our whole land is great and rich, but there is no order in it. Come to rule and reign over us." The leaders of the invited Varangians were Rurik and his brothers Truvor and Sinius. Rurik became the prince in Holmgard, modern Novgorod. Senius began to reign in Belazora and Truvor in Isbergs. Now I am going to tell about Oleg of Novgorod as the greatest ruler of the state of Rus. In different sources, he has different names, such as Wise Oleg, Oleg the Wise, Prophetic Oleg, and Oleg the Prophet. In my work, I am going to use the name Prophetic Oleg. After the death of Rurik in 879, his little son Igor became the prince in Novgorod, and Rurik's companion in arms and brother-in-law Oleg was accepted as a regent and, in fact, as a ruler. This outstanding leader has been known as Prophetic Oleg. No doubt, he got that nickname because all his reforms, military campaigns, agreements with other leaders or countries happened to be extremely successful. In those days of very naive and superstitious people, any wise person who was able to realize his plans without mistakes looked like a real wizard or a prophet. But what about the story of Oleg's death, that great Alexander Pushkin retold in his Song of the Wise Prince Oleg? Now tell me, O wizard, the darling of gods, how long shall I live on in comfort? And what to the joy of my foes are the odds with earth before long I'll be covered? You don't need to fear me, let truth here be known. Speak up, and you'll have any horse that I own. One prophet is asking another prophet about his future. Oleg believes that black augury so much that he decides to part with his reliable and devoted horse. Isn't the best proof that Oleg was given that nickname for his acuity of mind and perhaps some luck? Prophetic Oleg, like other rulers of those times, was mainly engaged in military campaigns. In addition, the chronicles mention that Oleg founded many towns, modified the tax system. The tribes of the northern, who previously paid tribute to Khazars, began paying much less to Varangians. I mustn't forget to tell you about Prophetic Oleg as a general. In 882, Oleg began to move systematically down the Dnieper, leaving garrisons in major cities. Then, after killing Askold and Dir, who had previously ruled in Kiev, he captured the city and declared it the new capital. Having become the ruler in Kiev as well as in Novgorod, Oleg had enough power to be able to launch his own attack upon Byzantium. According to the Russian primary chronicle in 907, the Oleg gathered a large army which went to Constantinople.
Constantinople was a megalopolis. It was a great city by modern standards. The population was maybe 100,000, maybe 500,000, and it had mighty Roman walls. In a way, it's best to think of it as a kind of time warp. This was the Roman Empire still existing, still with Roman legions, still with Roman titles, and a kind of Roman Empire. In fact, the Byzantines call themselves Romans.
The Russian chronicle describes a campaign carried out by Oleg in the year 907.
Oleg came to Constantinople with 2,000 ships. The citizens closed the straits and took shelter inside the city.
When Oleg's forces arrived in the Golden Horn, they found the sea lanes closed by the great chain closing the mouth of the horn. The Rus disembarked, killed the Greek garrison, and mounted their ships on wheels or rollers, and let the wind help carry the boats over land to reach the Bosphorus and so come to the city.
The Rus committed innumerable killings outside the city walls, tore down palaces, and burned churches. They killed or tortured their prisoners.
The Russian primary chronicle claims that the Greeks tried to feed Oleg and his men poisoned food, which he shrewdly refused. Then the Greeks promised to pay Oleg tribute. Oleg demanded silk sails for his ships and linen sails for his allies' ships, along with wine, gold, and fruit. The chronicle also claims that Oleg hung his shield over the city gate as a sign of victory. The successful siege of Constantinople resulted in a peace treaty that gave Russian merchants in the Byzantine cities wide privileges. But the importance of that victory was the demonstration of the power of the new state in Europe. Thanks to the successful military campaigns of Prophetic Oleg, it was possible to unite many East Slavic tribes under the rule of Kiev. A successful foreign policy helped to increase the authority of the young state. In the new state, education, the foundations of the tax system, and the border service began to form. The treaty with the Greeks also promoted trade. Even though Oleg was a pagan, due to his deeds, Russia is the main country of Orthodox Christianity. Moscow is often called the Third Rome because our country saved Orthodox Christianity, let alone the Christians of Armenia and Georgia. Most Balkan wars between the Russian Empire and Turkey took place because our country wanted to protect Orthodox Christians of the Balkan Peninsula. The Viking Age was full of wars and cruelty, and Prophetic Oleg was as cruel as many other rulers. William Shakespeare wrote, "I must be cruel only to be kind." And these words describe Oleg perfectly. Thinking about the future of his country, he had to be cruel creating Kievan Rus.